Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 106 of the RRBG podcast. In this episode, I talked to Zach and Tom of the band Howling Giant. We talk a little bit about their new album that they're working on, titled The Space Between Worlds, coming out on Blues Funeral Recordings. They give us a little insight on what that's going to sound like and give us a release time frame. We also talk about touring, what potential tours can be coming. We talk a lot about music and the music scene. We talk a lot about beer, too, because they both work at a brewery and are currently working on a collaboration beer with Oliver Brewing. I had a great time talking to them, and I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to check them out on social media at Howling Giant. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Cheers. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the RRBG podcast. I'm here with the members of Howling Giant. Please introduce yourselves.
How's it going, man? I'm Zach, and I play the drums.
And I'm Tom. I play guitar and sing the lead vocals.
Nice. You guys are currently in the process of releasing a full length, your first full length?
Yeah, we're just wrapping it up now, and we're shooting for a release in late summer,
Late September,
something like that.
Late September. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how is it? Is it any different than the recently re-released EP you guys had through the Blues Funeral recordings?
Oh yeah, man, it's definitely different. It's still Howling Giant. We still do, we write the music that we do, but that re-released EP was our first release, so we've really come a long way since then, and songwriting, and
we recorded that in Tom's bedroom. So
nice.
It was raw.
Yeah,
to say the least. It was raw. It was very garage-y sounding, which was cool.
Yeah,
but the new one's going to be, I think, a bit more polished, and yeah, it's going to be rad, man.
Did you guys go into a studio, like a real life studio, as not like a home studio?
So this one was a home studio.
Okay.
My wife and I built a room in our basement and serves as our practice room occasionally. And then we'll have bands in every once in a while, do records or anything one-offs with them. And it was kind of nice being able to track down there because we could take our time. In the past, for Black Hole Space Wizard Part 2, for example, we pretty much just prepared as much as we could, paid for studio time, walked in there and just tried to cram as much as we could.
And I mean, that's the cool thing about recording in studios. I mean, they're awesome, they're really fun, but you only have so much time. So you need to kind of run in and just rush everything you can in your 8 to 12 hour block.
Yeah.
That can be a little crazy. But yeah, the home studio kind of gave us some, relaxed approach. We could just do it as we were ready to.
Yeah, go song by song if we wanted, or, that's been pretty nice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can appreciate the home studio recordings. Some people seem to think that you can just go to a paid studio and take your time. It's not like that at all.
Yeah.
You run out of money.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, if I had more money, yeah, let's do it. But, we still got a nice DIY approach to the home-built studio. It's going to be awesome.
Nice. And so you said you have other bands that are using the studio to record albums. Could you name a few?
Just local friends and whatnot. Who'd we have in there recently? The Strange Encounters, kind of indie rock type stuff.
Nice.
What else you got? Dan?
Dan O'Rourke. I ended up playing drums on a few of his tracks. It's kind of like Americana, bluesy rock, and man.
Not a lot of heavy bands.
Not a lot of heavy bands. We're about the only one that gets down there.
Nice. Well, I mean, that bluesy rock kind of thing lends itself. You guys are in Nashville?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, the time I spent there when I was touring, I mean, it was just, that's all I heard walking down the street. Every bar had a band, and each band was like a different version of blues or jazz or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's you can find any style of music around here. I mean, we say that a lot, but like if you go digging, you can just get.
But you have to
anything.
dig. You have to dig. You're going to hear Americana, or you're going to hear the like pop country cover bands.
True, very true.
That's like,
God,
you got to dig for the good stuff.
That is the only genre of music I have no reservations in saying no, thank you.
It definitely can be a little overwhelming. You need to escape it, you know?
Yeah, we both, our day job, we work at a brewery, so.
Oh, God.
Rad.
Nice.
But on Saturdays, you get all the bachelorette parties prepping for their downtown adventure. Or early morning at the brewery. That's a little rough sometimes.
Yikes. We'll get into the beer talk for sure. I want to get there. But I want to keep talking a little bit about the new record. So your previous EPs were the Black Hole Space Wizard Part 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. Is this going to be a continuation of that as well, or is this something completely different for the new record?
This is a separate concept entirely.
Okay.
We do intend to go back and do a Black Hole Space Wizard Part 3, but this release is a completely separate concept and was kind of a chance for us to work on songs and ideas that we've been having during the Black Hole Space Wizard series. But, we just wanted a chance to be able to record and play those and just step outside of the Black Hole Space Wizard world just for a minute. But we're coming back.
So you guys are very heavy concept type, in terms of theme, and you got the artwork that looks like a old school like horror magazine comic book thing, which I really dig. Are you going to continue with that theme of like having it kind of be like a novel or like a comic book looking thing where it's a story?
Yeah, I mean it'll still be a story. I think the comic book imagery really plays into like some of our EPs. Right, it kind of plays into that Black Hole Space Wizard 1 and 2. This cover is going to be a little bit different. We still have some really like gorgeous art in the gatefold, but the cover is almost going to be a little more reserved. We're almost kind of looking at this like the novel kind of equivalent to our EPs being more of the like comic book issues.
Okay.
Kind of makes sense.
That makes
sense.
A
little bit longer story, kind of more is happening, but a little less of the in-your-face comic kind of imagery.
And that gives the artists that we work with a chance to stretch their legs a little bit every once in a while, try something a little different, which is fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I'm always a fan of really good artwork. Like when a band puts out a record and it's like a band photo or like a picture of something like, here's a shoe. Like I'm just,
Yeah. I feel you.
Yeah, I like the intense artwork. I mean, I grew up obviously loving comic books and old school metal records that had these amazing, elaborate like fantasy art, and that like bands like Mastodon, even that they're a little younger than the old school bands, but still, you look at the Leviathan artwork, and that's like an epic. You know what I mean? You just look at it, and it looks like you're in for a ride, and I like that about your artwork. Like I saw it immediately. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like this.
Yeah, man. Well, that's definitely something we were shooting for. I think there was a really cool era in, especially the 70s, where you're seeing all those kind of like heavy metal comic kind of style images. Even like Yes albums had really cool like psychedelic imagery, and that influences, I think, how you listen to an album to kind of give that image and then listen to it. So it's pretty important for sure.
For sure, man. And you guys, I'm assuming you're planning a release like on vinyl. You guys have the EP is out, the re-release on like this beautiful blue and yellow vinyl 10-inch. So I'm assuming, are you going to do like multiple variants? I mean, how's that going to work out?
Yeah, we're definitely doing multiple variants for the full length album. I'm not really sure what they'll be yet though.
Okay.
Still kind of in the planning phases on those just a little bit.
Yeah.
Seeing what kind of matches with the artwork the best, or, pops, anything else like that.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, in some bands I've seen that they take a more deft hand in the creation of like the different variants. Some of them end up looking a little generic. Like you look at a band comes out and they're like, we have five variants, and they all look like the 5 variants from the last band that I saw too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think keep getting your input is worth it. Like my buddies in Chemist, they came out with a record, and it's like, I know that Zach the drummer is a brewer, so when they release like a beer colored vinyl, I'm like, that's the one. That's the one I need.
Well, dude, and this sounds really like funny, but I have God Luck and Good Speed by Weed Eater. and they released that on brown vinyl, which sounds really like not super interesting, but you crack it open and it just makes sense for that record.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I'm just like,
like
of
a
course
blunt.
it's on brown vinyl. It's like, it's awesome though. I love that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I look forward to seeing what kind of creations you guys are going to put out with that artistically. Is there a name for the record?
Yeah, are we releasing that? Yeah, we probably can.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Yeah,
we can
so
talk about that.
Sure.
We're calling it The Space Between Worlds.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's the concept kind of follows the story of this woman who can essentially kind of travel and exist within dreams. She can access and travel through any dream world that a human creates. And this is the idea that when you dream, you're actually creating this whole world that you can interact with. So it's kind of like her journey through that. There's a lot to it for sure, but just kind of on the surface level, I'd say that's kind of the approach this album's taking.
That's interesting. I like that subject matter. I mean, I always talk about what happens when we're dreaming and, the brain naturally releasing the DMT and causing you to have these like vivid, crazy, lucid type dreams every once in a while. And
I mean, it's the idea of like what is like at a certain point, what is reality when you spend that much of your life in these dream worlds that are so real to you while you're dreaming. You'll wake up and have to think through it. And then you're like, okay, of course that was a dream. But while you're in it, it's so real. So it's kind of exploring that idea that these places actually do exist and can be like accessed and, manipulated.
I love that, man. I love that. It's a super intriguing subject. And I've always felt this connection with really good music and that kind of topic, or that, the idea that a music can be a vehicle to another world if you let it. You know what I mean? It could be what takes you, because we're all just energy vibrating at a specific frequency. So, music is a frequency that you can listen to and just go into that vibe, that wavelength. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited to hear what you guys got coming for that. The tours, I'm assuming you're going to be touring extensively, because I know you just recently played Psycho Smokeout, and I apologize. I was running around like a madman with Orange Amps' Instagram. They wanted me to take pictures and do certain things, and I was just, when you're doing work, it's hard to like sit back and like, all right, I'm going to do something for myself and enjoy this. So.
Oh man, I understand that for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
we'll be touring quite a bit for sure. I know that we're planning on.
We're just doing a little run around Psycho Las Vegas because we're playing the pool party on Thursday, and we're planning on hanging all weekend trying to see as many bands.
That's going to be nice because it's really just like play a few shows to get out there, and then just like hang out for that whole fest. So that'll actually be a pretty light run.
Yeah, super easy. Just kind of warm up and then 2 shows back as well, and that'll be cool. We will tour around the release, so. Ideally, September, October, we're just, finishing up the planning on some of those dates.
I'm not sure quite how long yet, but I think we're shooting for around a month ish.
Yeah, the idea is because we just did this big old West Coast tour, is trying to do a lot of East Coast.
Nice. Logistically, I mean, that's got to be a little rough considering you guys are on the East Coast, but coming to the West Coast, just switching coasts like that has got to be a pain in the ass to schedule and get everything lined up.
Dude, it's fun, but it is a different world. We've been spending so much time developing connections on the East Coast, and certain cities are so much easier to travel to, you know what I mean? And then you get to the West Coast and you'll be traveling for 12 hours across the desert of like the Southwest or something. Like what is this place? It's amazing. It's gorgeous, but it's a completely different beast as far as touring is concerned.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I spent most of my time on the East Coast. When I was in a band, it was 10 years in Florida, and we were just touring, up and down Florida, up into like Alabama, Georgia, Arkansas, that type of area. And then eventually we hit the whole US. But now that I'm living over here and I get to travel over to, Vegas and see that crazy desert landscape and just like the weird ghost towns that are in between and like weird civilizations that are out there living in the desert, like Lawless. I don't know if you've heard of this, but there's like a whole documentary about how there's a town in the middle of California desert or Nevada desert where there's no laws. There's no one guiding or governing these people. They're just there. Like, people are dying and shooting each other, but they're living in this weird, like, Mad Max type of environment. It's insane.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's actually amazing and terrifying, but like, man, that's super interesting.
Live there for a little while and write a concept EP about it. Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, look it up. It's on YouTube, just like Desert Society. It's a Vice thing. They went in there and took video and interviewed a bunch of people that live there, and it's just nuts to see, like, people making artwork with, you know, bottles and trash and whatnot. It's insane.
I remember going through a town somewhere in the Southwest called Truth or Consequences.
Truth or Consequences.
Jesus Christ.
Man, it was an interesting town, but holy shit. Truth or Consequences, man. That was real.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's some weird shit, man. And going back to Psycho and that trip to Vegas out there, I love going. Is this your first time playing it, or did you play last year?
We played last year while it was still at the Hard Rock.
Okay.
So this year it's at Mandalay Bay, so I'm excited to see what that's about.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. Dude, I barely got to enjoy last year. I had fun. Let me not, seem unappreciative. But, Orange Amps and Obey took me out there to do interviews, and it was just chaos trying to organize all these interviews. Every day we had like 4 or 5, and people trying to party, people trying to coordinate. It's just, but
it is a madhouse.
It's a madhouse, man. But it's so much fun. Like, especially when you're done working in the late hours of the night, like walk into the center bar and there's fucking, Matt Pike just throwing down beers with a bunch of people and like, all right, guess this is where I'm hanging tonight.
Dude, for sure. It's a crazy feeling to see basically everything come to life. It's that full immersion in this heavy scene. You listen to all these bands, but then you just see like every band you're into just in one place, in the flesh, and just surrounded by fans who all appreciate the same thing. That full immersion is something you just can't get like anywhere. I feel like it's awesome.
Yeah. And there's definitely like a level of respect too. I didn't see a whole lot of punishing. There was some punishing, some fans that were like, oh my God. But for the most part, people respected each other and space.
Totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great, man. And I mean, shit. I'm trying to remember if I caught you guys last year. Then I don't know. I was a madhouse, like you said.
Yeah, we were on the vinyl stage. I forget what day even. Was it Saturday?
It was like 7, I think.
Yeah,
Saturday at 7. So what was it? Who's playing at the same time as us? I'm trying to remember. It's all a haze, man. Where was I? Who am I?
Yeah, that's what's rad about this year. It's like we were like, oh, we have to play, but this band we want to see is playing next door. Dang. But like this year, pool party's one stage.
Dude,
so we
one
play,
stage,
we hang out.
You get to see all the bands.
Yeah.
You get to float in that pool.
We'll have to borrow Remy's spreadsheet. So a buddy of ours has a spreadsheet where he maxes out like how he can see every band.
The pool stage is awesome. Well, at least it was in the Hard Rock. I wonder how it's going to be in Mandalay Bay. But
I heard there was a lazy river.
Oh yeah,
what?
Lazy River me.
That's nuts, dude. I remember last year I spent the entire time like, oh God, who would go into that pool? That pool looks gross. And then, all the dirty, filthy thrash metal dudes that are in there. And by the Sunday, I was so just beat up from working the entire weekend that Red Fang was playing. I think it was like midnight. I jumped in, took all my clothes off. I'm like, fuck it.
Yeah. We were there. I think we were there during the Red Fang set.
Yep.
Yeah. We were.
I was getting yelled at by security guards because I like ran and flipped into the water. Security guard jumped in the pool and walked over to me. He's like, "Don't do that again." I'm like, "You could have just told me that from the. You didn't have to jump in here."
I mean, he was just looking for an excuse.
Yeah, he wanted to jump. Yeah.
Hell yeah!
All right, well,
that was fun. Don't do that.
Yeah, that was great. Stop it. We don't want everyone doing it. So talk to me a little bit about the beer. You guys work at a brewery. You got a beer collaboration in the works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is it with the brewery you're working at?
It's actually not. The brewery we work with is Tennessee Brew Works, and they're amazing. They're super supportive. but we don't necessarily fit their brand. I guess,
Okay.
No. They they'll supply shows, like stock the green room and stuff for us.
Oh, it's awesome. And they're like 100% like supportive of us.
There's not really like a metal brewery.
But they're like, they kind of gear themselves more as like, we are like
singer-songwriter
brewery, singer-songwriters, classic country music. So I think they were hesitant to do like a Black Hole Space Wizard Imperial Porter for us, So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. That happens. I mean, I've worked for breweries where I'm not a good fit just because, I'm more of a I'd get into a brewery and their theme is more like 40s or 50s, old school Hollywood, and I'm in there like, we should have wrestling events and metal shows.
Yeah. I love, and that's my jam. But
they're like, no, settle down. So you're working with Oliver Brewing for this collaboration beer.
Yeah, so I don't think anything's super locked in yet. We're still in the ideas phase. So
we're talking it over with Steve over there and trying to figure out what we want to do. So, not a ton to report yet on that, but he's done beers for some other bands, and I mean, they're just excellent brewers.
We went there last May, and he gave us the full tour and then supplied us with a bunch of road beer just to try.
Nice.
We had Great Electric Quest, the IPA he did for them.
Dude, yeah, it was awesome. But we found that a lot of bands, if they're going to get a beer made, they go the IPA route.
Yeah.
Which I love IPAs.
Sure. I mean, it's the hip.
But I kind of want to do something. I want to do something different.
Exactly.
Everybody's doing IPAs.
Or a barrel-aged Imperial Porter or something like that.
We need to do like a Saison or something. I need to do something like...
See, for me, like a Saison, that's my favorite style, period.
Yeah, man. Do some weird funkiness with it. I don't know, man.
Yeah, that would be that'd be the way to go because, like you said, a lot of bands do the IPA, but I think that's mostly probably an idea from whatever brewery's salespeople, because that's, when I did beer sales. Yeah, I did beer sales for 8 years, so it's like, I know that those 3 letters carry a lot of weight.
They do. Yeah. And so, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, if we're talking with like Steve and Oliver Brewing and they're like, let's do an IPA, I'm still on board 100%. Don't get me wrong.
I like all beer.
Yeah.
But yeah, Saisons are delicious. I mean, who was it that did, there was, Mastodon did like it wasn't a Saison, but it was like a tart wheat ale with McKellar that was decent. The Mother Puncher.
I don't know if I ever had that. Didn't they do some stuff with Three Floyds as well?
Yeah, they did the Crack the Sky Imperial Stout with coffee, I think.
Okay.
Because they made coffee with like dark matter coffee, and then they used that coffee to make the beer. I don't know. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Twofold.
Yeah, I did the whole thing. I ended up, I have friends there that they shipped me a bag of the coffee and a bottle of the beer and a glass and the whole freaking experience.
Whole package.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's one of those things. I loved the whole beer community for so long. It was my passion. And once I moved out here to the West Coast, it kind of started dwindling away. Like I started seeing a different side of it. And overall, the industry itself changed a lot. A bunch of people that don't like beer infiltrated the beer world. That's what I tell people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that
that's
makes sense.
True.
At least in town here, the scene is fairly young compared to everywhere else because like we had some pretty strict liquor laws and everything else.
Yeah,
like for a while they couldn't brew over 6.25% by volume for the longest time.
Oh God.
So
yikes.
that was lifted like 2 years ago or so. So as soon as that happened, a lot of people started getting a little experimental. So for us, I feel like it's in a fairly fresh stage in Nashville versus people who have had no limits forever.
I mean, but I also understand that scene changing, though.
Yeah.
It's like the people who are getting into craft beer are, I mean, it's changing, it's evolving. But I think the biggest thing is to almost, just try not to like take it too seriously sometimes for us, It's just like, it's just beer, man.
Yeah. That was always me and my buddy Caesar. That was always, it's just beer, dude.
Yeah.
Settle down. Why are you lined up 4 days in advance for a can of diabetes?
Right.
You don't like beer. You like smoothies and daiquiris. Like, go away.
So you're getting all these beer styles that are just trying to be that. And I mean, dude, it's fine and it's interesting, but
sure. Yeah, I'll have one. Look, here's my theory. Like, I'm okay with all of the beers. people criticize the hazies or the smoothie milkshakes or the glittery beers, and to me it's fine. Make them, but don't make it like the predominant thing. Just have it be an option. Like I'll have a can of a triple milkshake, whatever, with coconuts. Fine, I'll try it. I try all of the alcohol that I can.
Yeah, right.
But if I'm gonna drink, I want to. Lately I've been just drinking a lot of pilsners and lagers, and IPAs here and there.
Same here. Yeah, that's been the same route. It's like after a while, you almost just crave
nice blonde ale,
just a beer flavored beer.
Yeah,
And if that makes sense, you know what I mean. But it's like you start to get almost an appreciation for some of those more traditional styles a lot of the times. Like I love when I see a brewery that has an ESB on tap.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't see those, and it's like give me that more just traditional English approach at times. It's awesome.
And an ESB on cask.
Oh yeah.
Wonderful.
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I used to work at Cigar City in Tampa, and it was so funny to me because we would make an ESB and I would be super stoked and no one would buy it. And it was just sit there and I'm like, God damn it, people, come on.
We did, what did we have? Was it the craft beer conference?
Craft Brewers Conference
Brewers
was in Nashville last year, yeah.
So, like, we have an ESB on tap, and I mean, you're absolutely right. Most people aren't ordering an ESB. And then we have CBC, and all the brewers from around the country, like, we sold more ESB than anything ever before. It was kind of awesome. Yeah, it was rad.
So you guys, what are you doing at the brewery that you're working at? Just in the tasting room?
Yeah, we're both bartenders over there.
Yeah,
okay.
And I do tours of the brewery as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So have you brewed anything yourselves? Have you done home brewing and stuff like that? How deep does the nerddom go?
Yeah, I actually don't. I actually haven't done much home brewing. I know you have a little bit.
Yeah, I had one ill-fated experiment. Like when I first moved here, fresh out of college, my roommate and I got one of those, the Cooper's kits.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, the Mr. Beer.
It's bad, and we were bad. Okay, bad all around. We cleaned it, but we didn't sanitize it.
Oh no.
we temperature control was bad, and it came out, and we were all just broke, fresh out of college, just like, well,
it's alcohol.
I guess it's alcoholic. So,
and it all comes down to how do you brand it?
Yeah.
What was it supposed to be? It was supposed to be a light beer. It came out sour and weird. So you call it a sour pub ale, and now it's the hip new thing that everybody's got to try.
We were ahead of the curve.
Yeah, this was before the sour beers really were catching on.
Yeah.
We were on that wave.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious because I always enjoyed that when people started getting into sours. I'm like, you realize that this happened as a mistake, right?
Yeah. This is an infection. Yeah.
Your beer is infected.
Yeah.
Yeah. They get scared. People get worried. Like, what do you mean? Am I going to get sick? It's like, no, you're fine. God.
You're going to die, dude.
What do you know about acetaldehyde?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. Well, I mean, I used to be very passionate about it once I discovered it. Like, this was, I don't know, 8-9 years ago, traveling with the band and going to North Carolina and seeing Three Philosophers. What is this? There's a beer that's 9%. What? You know what I mean? I had no idea what it was. And so I delve into it super hardcore. And Cigar City would wake us up at 9 a.m. to sit in a room and drink 12 or 13 different infected beers so we can try and figure out
what the infection is.
And that is, some people, I would post on Instagram, oh, I'm at work drinking. They're like, oh, your life is the best. I'm like, this tastes like shit.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be doing this right now.
Man, we were kind of doing that for a little bit, not quite that extensively, but
both of us we took the first level of the Cicerone test there.
The Chicharron test.
Chicharron.
Yeah, the Cicerone test.
Yeah, but that's just the certified beer server one. But we like to, the brewery was doing a bunch of education with us, and we would always,
at the time, our tap room manager was, what was he?
He's a level 2.
He's a level 2, which is actually kind of impressive in the Cicerone. We're there are a ton, at least in Nashville.
Well, and that's the whole day test where you go and you're tasting almost all day, big written test, craziness.
But he would come out and he would, it was awesome. He would have us try these beers and be like, one of these is infected or whatever, find what's happening. Or the blind taste, just be what style do you even think this is based on just the taste alone. And it was pretty cool, pretty fun. But you're right. I mean, when you're starting to get into those infections and things, dude, it's just nasty. It's like, man.
Yeah, we were drinking a lager that we made that was like several different infections. One of them was caprylic acid, and it tasted like goat hair. It was so gross. It was like waxy goat butter. Like it was just the most disgusting shit.
Okay, so it's all in marketing. You're learning this though, right?
Yeah. Sell it as the goat beer.
Let people know this is the goat beer, and you're not going to find this anywhere but here.
Or they sell a bunch of diacetyl beer and just like, oh, popcorn beer.
Yeah. Dude, this is your Friday night movie beer, you know? It's like popcorn, man.
serve it in a pint glass that's shaped like a popcorn container.
Dude, yes, and people love it. It's all in marketing.
You could get a butter pump from the movie theater to top it off.
Oh yeah.
Delicious.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
You can rim the glass like they've been doing that with like gozas. They rim the glasses out here like margaritas. Like
boy.
Yeah, just rim it with like white cheddar powder from the popcorn. You know,
like, holy shit!
Make a white cheddar popcorn.
Glass. That sounds amazing.
But look, I'm like we were saying earlier, I'm all for the experimenting with the beer styles. Go for it, but don't take it so damn seriously.
Yeah.
Have fun with it, man. You know.
Yeah. No, and I've the whole podcast started with the idea of that, like getting bands together with beer because, we're out there touring and drinking, and why not have your own beer with you? You know what I mean? That you can share with your fans. And fans will, like if you make a lot of it, you can sell it at your venue or wherever you're playing.
Yeah, we actually was it the first tour we went on? Tennessee Brewworks just let us take a couple cases.
Yeah, we had some extra room, so we just stocked up cases.
But like, you have no idea how often that becomes a bargaining chip that could save your life.
Yeah,
it's like, hey man, take a 6-pack for the road. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and it's such a nice commodity. Like, you have an artist in the brewer, right? The person that's making the beer is an artist. Mm-hmm. I consider them an artist anyway. And then they're usually music fans. They're usually blasting music at the brewery when they're brewing or at the tasting room. So they're usually fans of music. And then the musicians are drinking. So it's a beautiful, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Synchronicity. I don't know. It's a good connection there between the two. And that's always been the thing for me with bands. Like, the reason I did well with meeting bands was show up to a show with a cooler full of beer. You'll be everyone's friend.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Especially if it's good beer. If you show up with a cooler full of Miller Lights, you might get a couple dudes to hang out. But
yeah.
But if you bring a bunch of bottles, like, I brought a cooler full of Cantillon sours for the Mastodon show at the Palladium, and we just sat there fucking popping those open.
Dude, yes, that sounds awesome. Yeah. You gotta lure them in with a variety. It's like, what you got in there, man? Come check it out. See what we got.
Check out this delicious white cheddar popcorn beer I brought.
Yeah. It's top of the line.
Top of the line. Newest technologies going into this.
This is pure art in a bottle.
So what would be, to go back to a little bit of the music, what would be the ideal touring package for you?
Oh, man. I feel like it depends on the day. Lately, I've been on just such a Torch kick. I would love to hit the road with Torch, just like super heavy, still really melodic. I think that's a package that would be really fun.
Torch and ASG.
Maybe
a red thing,
Yeah.
Throw them all in there.
I don't know, man. We're not picky. Anyone and everybody. Kind of depends on the day.
Like, we'll send you on the road with Carly Rae Jepsen.
I'd try anything.
I'll try anything. Yeah, right.
That's the thing. You have to, man. Just play every show like that. Are you familiar with Every Time I Die?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they just hit the road with whoever the label puts them with, because it's like, fuck it. It's more people. And if they like us, great. And if they don't, who cares?
You never know where you're going to find your fans. And there's always an unlikely fan in every audience,
Totally. And so, there are pros and cons to touring with any band. On the one side, if we tour with a band that's within our genre, you're still going to reach people who haven't heard you. And I know that you are into this kind of music already. Mm-hmm. But being able to go and play with like some band that is just a completely different genre, ideally maybe somewhere close to the rock world, but like you can shock these people that don't even almost know what to expect from you. Right. And that's a really exciting way to make a fan too. So, I mean, it's, you can't be too picky about who you're playing with sometimes.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we when I was in the band, I mean, we did some weird, like, proggy kind of experimental type music, and they threw us on a bill with Static X. And I was like, this isn't fit, but I'm definitely playing this show. Like, there's no question, right, guys? And they were like, I guess. It's like, we're doing that show, right? Okay.
Yeah, man. I mean, you got to, at the very least, it's like, it's an experiment, man. You just got to see if it works. And sometimes it really does.
Yeah, it does. It does, for sure. And then for the type of music, you said you're changing the sound for the new album, right? So if you were to go in a completely different direction for the follow-up album after that one, like if you want to just change shit up, what do you think you would end up doing? Would it be more like, would you lean more into the stoner doom, or would you lean maybe throw in some black metal? Would you maybe even go electronic in any way?
Well, so I think something that we've talked about doing for a while, we've been kind of talking about how cool it is to release just EPs. We've already released a bunch of EPs, but the idea that you can almost explore a completely different genre or sound in that small chunk of like 4 to 5 songs, and you can kind of get away with it. So, I mean, for like us, I mean,
we were talking for a while about like kind of a more punk,
just
EP.
A straight ahead punk EP. And like, don't get upset, because we'll do another full length and it'll be the Howling Giant sound. For example, the album we're putting out it's not like a hard turn from what we've been. It's just kind of an evolution of our songwriting, but the sounds are definitely still kind of us. But the idea of using these EPs to explore something completely differently, we could go the just full on like doom or like heavy psych, or even go just like a lighter kind of, psych or prog rock kind of thing could be cool.
I think you guys with the art, the aesthetic you guys have with the artwork and everything and the vibe, you could pull off a thrash metal EP.
Dude, I think it'd be super fun, and that's something I think we intend to kind of do at some point, is just to branch out with these EPs and let people know, like, this is our step into this world. Don't freak out.
If I start playing fast music again, though, I fear I'll never slow down.
You have to slow down.
In the beginning of this band, I had to really learn how to not play fast.
Well, we took away Zach's double bass pedal. we had to confiscate that.
Yeah.
That we had to take away your China cymbals.
Well, that was.
I was like, this is gross. Take this away.
Oh man. So you were, what were some of the bands that you listened to that kind of influenced that fast mentality that you went in with?
Well, I kind of, middle and high school for me, I listened to a lot of, what was big around that time was like a lot of metalcore type stuff, like the Kill Switch Engage and the Trivium and things like that. But I mean, I got way into all the classics. I mean, Metallica is the big one. I mean, I was looking towards more of the 80s thrash when I was playing stuff like that. But, and then it got a little proggier too sometimes, depending on what we were listening to. I still like Between the Buried and Me.
Nice.
Really cool stuff. But I mean, a lot of that, and just with the players I was playing with back in the day, they were just faster shredder guys. So it was like, I don't think there was really, like, songwriting wise, it was just like, okay, everyone play fast.
Well, that was kind of the scene we were in too. I mean, we went to this music college in Boston where the scene we were in was a lot of like the prog metal kind of heads.
Was it Berkeley?
So that's kind of what we both kind of, or at least what I fell into as a guitar player. And then I realized it for me wasn't as much fun as just kind of playing like a fat riff. You know what I mean? It's like, but like we'd go, we play these shows and you're trying to do these like fast, odd time kind of prog things. And it was really fun to play, but
no one in the audience is enjoying it. They're all just judging.
I would just look out and just see this like totally analytical crowd that's just like, well, they're just like studying.
Yeah.
And,
they're taking notes almost.
Yeah. So that's kind of why we honestly started this project, was just like, I mean, we started as Skulldozer in the beginning, and we just wrote songs about our Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. And it was all meant to be just like, at the time, just very cheesy, but like just riffy kind of slow shit.
Nice.
And it was just way more fun. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. That world of, so you said music school in Boston. Was it Berkeley?
Yeah, we went to Berkeley.
Okay, There we go. Yeah, and the Berkeley crowd, I mean, dude, I have many friends that went there, and I love them all, and I love your music. But yeah, it's super judgy and super nerdy, man. It is the nerdiest shit. If you want to nerd out, that's fine. I'm into it too. I'll nerd out with you. But ultimately, if I want to play something myself, yeah, I wouldn't do anything like that. I'm not qualified or talented enough to go to meedly away with you guys and do like 4 guitars on stage. None of them have headstocks. Let's see who can tap the fastest.
Yeah, right. That was definitely a scene for a while, but
yeah,
like,
and that's perfectly fine if that's what you're into. Like, I'm not criticizing. I love it. And I'll go watch it. But for me personally, to perform, I won't have fun doing that. To me, it's more about raging out and like having a good time and grooving. I don't know if that has a lot to do with just the upbringing of, you know, what you listen to when you grow up, I guess, or, you know, I was in a household where there was like Latin music too, a lot of Spanish stuff. So when I hear a good groove, I always just like, oh, okay.
It just feels better, you know, and something you kind of end up missing. But yeah, you know, you need to have that experimental phase of trying out the old prog metal thing, you know, take it for a spin.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I love the BT Bams and the Animals as Leaders and the, you know, all those dudes. They're all great. Scale the Summit, you know, but it has its time and its place to me. Like if I want to nerd out, I'll put it on and nerd out.
It was kind of cool too. Like after moving to Nashville, though, hearing all these like singer-songwriters, you can kind of like learn a lot from their songwriting, which is focused on a lot of times, I think, almost being as kind of simple as possible. And
a lot of these people are just like their day job is they pack up, they wake up, they go down to Music Road, they write 5 songs, and then they go home.
But they're all like, it'll be this tight and
very
at
tight.
Times like minimalistic songwriting. And I think that's kind of a cool thing to take away and almost try to apply to the heavy world a little bit. It's like still write the riff, still do what you're doing, but almost try to learn from some of that like singer-songwriter kind of stuff, just in song form at least.
Yeah, we have a lot of friends, just folksier songwriters, I'll say, and it's nice to get their opinion when we're working on things every once in a while.
And that is, of course, way different than the prog metal scene.
Yeah,
those songs were all like prog metal's all spastic and crazy through written stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of coming back to the singer-songwriter thing of like, hey, keep this song form really tight, make sure it's like easy enough to follow, and make sure there's a clear like climax and arc to everything.
And after somebody hears it once, you know, what are they going to remember from it?
Yeah, hooks are so important. People don't realize that. They dismiss it because they think it's pop or whatever, but having a good hook is the most important thing in your song, man. Like something that you're going to, like you said, walk away and remember. Be like, oh man, that little riff is stuck in my head and I want to hear it again.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do too with, and again, no offense to anyone. This is, if your way of writing, that's fine. But a lot of the difference comes from when you write music as a MIDI, which a lot of prog bands do. They'll write it on their computer because they're, the music theory classes, and they know every detail of every note and everything that they want to, transcribe on the paper, and then they put it on in a program for MIDI, and then they learn it. Then they learn how to play it on the guitar. To me, that is a disconnect in terms of the feeling and the vibe that you want from like the groovier stuff. The groovier stuff, like you write it while you're jamming. You're just jamming out, and it comes out of you. Yeah, you feel it coming out of you, as opposed to like this is a mathematical equation, and I'm gonna have to try and figure out how to make my fingers move that way.
So we have this song Camel Crusher, which was on our original EP. If we were to put that into a MIDI program, do you know how lame that song would sound? There's no way that would fly. But you do it in a room and you play as loud as you can with your buds, and it's just awesome. So I mean, there's definitely a disconnect, and just kind of depends what you're going for, I guess.
Yeah, I grew up with that whole jamming mentality, which is very prevalent in Tennessee and stuff like that. But having people over, having friends over, and everybody just grab an instrument and let's just do whatever. Like for months and months and months, that's how I met my band. I would just invite people over, and then eventually they were like, "You want to start something?" I'm like, "Sure."
Yeah, heck
Fuck it.
yeah.
And it's there's something beautiful about that, this like connection you make with other musicians, where you can communicate with each other basically without speaking. You just and when you're in the groove and you're jamming and you're coming up with stuff and improvising, you look up at each other and like, you know, you don't even need to say anything.
Oh, totally, man. Yeah, it's a weird kind of connection,
Oh
but
yeah.
it's so real. You can just kind of get to know someone, or at least feel like you know someone so well just from playing music with them. And they're like, "Well, what'd you talk about?" It's like, "Man, honestly, like pretty much nothing. You know, we just played music and I just understand them." You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nuts. And then you have to it's a responsibility that you guys kind of form this relationship. You're kind of in a marriage with your bandmates during that time period.
So what's really cool is the connection I find as a band and the audience, because there's also that connection there, I would argue.
Sure.
And it's harder to read because you're not like playing music and hearing them, but you can look out and see and feel like a response to what you're doing. And I mean, it's all just that relationship and that feeling. And that's a really interesting thing and kind of a hard one to convey unless you're almost there. But
well, that's why you come home from attending a live show oftentimes and you feel something different.
Sometimes I'll come home from seeing a live show and I'll try to show my buds this video I took or something.
Yeah.
And there's just no way that can translate because
like your speaker sounds like shit. Your phone mic didn't pick it up properly.
Totally. And even the sound aside, it's like the feeling in that moment and that energy is just so important for music. And something that doesn't exist in like a digital form, in a MIDI form, or in a recorded form a lot of the time, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah. It exists in a live show with the band and the audience.
A live show where anything can happen. Not playing to tracks and all this other stuff, but like one where it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, some of my favorite live recordings, you know, it's not... doesn't sound exactly like it does on the album. The band just feeling it at the moment. Maybe there's a mess up here or there, but it still works. They make it work, or they improvise a solo or something, and you know, it's a good vibe. I've always been appreciative of bands that connect with the audience like that too, because there's certain bands that will get on stage and they get mad if the audience isn't doing certain things. Like, I want to see a circle pit. And then people are just standing there like, no, dude, I just want to vibe to this, and then just get mad, and that's, I don't know.
The thing is, the audience doesn't owe you anything as a band.
Exactly.
So don't expect anything, and don't get upset if you don't get it, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree, 100%. But yeah, dude, I'm looking forward to hopefully catching you guys at Psycho this year. I think that I'm making phone calls to make the same deal happen again, so I can go out there and do some work, do some interviewing, hang out.
Heck yeah.
Sounds awesome, man. Yeah, that'd be fun. I'd love to hang.
Maybe we'll jump in the pool all together.
And then I'll send in 3 security guards, 4 security guards. Yeah.
For sure. I want to give a shout out to Jad over at Blues Funeral for connecting us. He was very enthusiastic. He thought we would be a good fit because of the music and the beer, and he was right.
Jad's a good man.
Jad's the man. He's our guru.
Hell yeah, brother. Well, so you said the time frame for the new record, September, maybe?
Late September.
September.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the name was, again, the Space Between
Worlds.
Space Between Worlds. Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I'll keep an eye out. If you're listening to the podcast, keep an eye out. Follow you guys on social media. You got social media, right?
Oh, yeah. Facebook, Instagram, and a Twitter that we don't really use, but have anyway.
Well, and you never know the day we decide to use it.
That's true.
Maybe we'll get into the Twitter game hard.
Exactly. So
keep your eyes peeled.
Keep tabs.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I suck at Twitter, man. You go to Instagram, there's 10,000 followers. You go to Twitter, it's like, huh? What happened here?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm trying to put more effort into it because it is a thing. You know, Twitter is a thing, and it helps.
Yes.
So what's your handles at Instagram and all that? Is it just
it's just Howling Giant. So Facebook.com/Howling Giant, Instagram handles Howling Giant, and Twitter is Howling Giant, all one word.
Awesome. Check them out. I really enjoyed the EP. I put it on while I was writing notes for the podcast, and man, it teleported me into that world, that cool classic rock kind of almost Mastodon-ish, vibe of it's a storytelling moment. So I really recommend you guys check it out.
Dude, hell yeah. Heck yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you for coming on, and cheers.
Dude,
Thanks so much for having us. Cheers.
All right, brother.
Cheers.
Take care.